And welcome into the Tuesday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on Christmas Eve. Is today Festivus? Is that what we're doing? It's the airing of the grievances.
Might as well.
We are broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Is that right? Is that what Festivus is?
I don't know. I can't remember if it's 23rd or like 26th.
I thought maybe it was like multiple days. No, I don't.
We're going to make it today.
Yeah, we'll make it today. Okay.
Happy Festivus.
You have to like try to put your tongue on like a light pole too.
It's today? Yeah, all right. I knew it was today. There we go. Happy Festivus.
Okay.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
That's right. And feats of strength or something. Yeah.
Boy. Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Oh, good morning. We are back to season 1 of Charmed.
Oh, boy.
So
recycled.
Oh, yeah. Doing good to start off the holiday week here.
Here we go. We got a lot to get into today on the program. We'll get into the all of a sudden surging Nashville Predators, who I met their new owner yesterday, and Nick Saban. We'll get into some of that a little bit later in the show as well. But Preds playing some good hockey. They're in Minnesota tonight, taking on the Minnesota Wild. John Hines got himself a squad up there, so we will get into that a little bit later in the show. Got the Rob Rant, 7:45. Pigskin Pick'em today at 8:30. This is our final show of the week, Joe. So, by the way, the competition heating up in Pigskin Pick'em. And let me first offer my congratulations to both Joe Rexrode and Ian Safar for making it to the final in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you. I just would like you to know that. So I went 7-7 in our league. I'm in the final. And in my athletic league that I'm in, I went 6-8, and also I'm in the final. So it just goes to show you.
Lucky.
It's all about, that's what we do, man. We try, but we really save.
Puke and rally.
That was
That's right.
13-1, Robby and Rexrode league, out in my first playoff game. 12-2 in my other league in the final. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I what was I? 2 seed?
That's
Good regular season.
Yeah.
So been carrying through. Jahmyr Gibbs been a solid pick. Chase Brown actually came through in the clutch. So yeah, I got Drake May.
So this means that that obviously whoever wins our league, I mean, the incredible prize that we offer for that is that you get to be in the league the next year. So This means that obviously like no one is grandfathered in next year. So
that's correct. What
are the stakes? Should we put something on this?
Between you two. Yeah. That's between you two.
No, it's a good question. We can maybe come up with something.
Okay, think about it.
Yeah, we've come up
chores around the studio.
Consider it.
Yeah, no chores around the studio. No, I'm good. I got enough of those.
But I could do some of yours. See what I'm saying?
That's what you want.
That's true.
Get Rexrode on the board. I think the prize should be Rexrode produces a show from the board.
I can sit there and push the button until I find like
that might involve
smoke weed constantly.
Yeah, go well.
That might involve too much work for me, and to make that happen.
Too much damage control.
Yeah, too much training. I don't know. We'll have to come up with something.
See how it goes.
Listeners, come up with something. Come up with our stakes.
Yeah, the pizza thing is already, I guess, done. Even though I don't know. I think we're a pizza behind.
I think we are pizza behind.
At least one behind. Yes.
Yeah, we may be 2 behind. Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts. Joe, they started off strong last night. Rivers goes right down the field. They score a touchdown. That's about it, though. San Francisco, I'm not sure, got stopped the whole night. Brock Purdy, by the way, last 2 weeks against the Titans and the Colts. My goodness, is he playing well. He was 25 of 34 for 295, 5 touchdowns and a pick last night. Quarterback rating of 126.8. Phillip Rivers, 23 of 35, 277, 2 touchdowns, a pick 6, 97 quarterback rating. Final score of 48-27 in favor of the San Francisco 49ers last night.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, he was keeping up for a little bit there. He did some really good things. It was absolutely, there was no hope at all for the Colts defense.
Couldn't stop him.
And I understand that Sauce Gardner, sitting there on the sideline, 1-5, by the way, 1-5. since that beautiful trade. But my goodness, I'm like, okay, so are the Colts this bad or the Niners this good? I am starting to look at the Niners. It's like, tell you what, man, they first of all, they are alive for the 1 seed still, and they might be a real problem for someone in the playoffs.
Well, that's now 5 spots in the NFC that are totally wrapped up in terms of, playoff berths that have been clinched, and we'll see what the seeding looks like. But now also 5 in the AFC after last night. The Chargers, the Bills, the Jags, the Patriots, and the Broncos all have clinched a playoff berth. Steelers still waiting to wrap up that division, and then Houston is in really good spot now to be that last wild card team at 10-5, but technically they have not clinched yet. But last night was probably that's probably something for the Colts that's going to be too difficult to overcome, would be my guess. So it's a cool story with Phillip Rivers, and look, I mean, he threw for 277 last night. It comes right out and throws a touchdown on the first drive of the game, but I don't believe they're going to make it when it comes to the playoffs.
No, he made some great throws. He terrific as always, anticipation and manipulation of the defense. There are a few where it's like, couldn't quite get it there, but it was a cool story. I still am confused. Like they showed like the suite, which looked like it was all his kids. Then they showed like this sports bar back home where it was like another litter of kids. I don't know.
He probably didn't want to spend all that money for all the children at the game. I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars at that point. My goodness.
But it looked like they had a suite full of them. I don't know. There were just a lot of people that were.
Suite's not big enough. That's what I'm saying. You have to go buy another one.
Yeah, so some of them had to stay back at the B-Dubs in Huntsville or whatever. But that's a cool story. He played well, but it's and you think about like him and how he's playing and what he's done. Remarkable. Also, you think about the Colts and like that offense and the difference in having Daniel Jones and Phillip Rivers. Really Daniel Jones is probably top what 5 to 7 running quarterbacks in the league. Am I giving him too much credit there?
I'd have to think about all the running quarterbacks, but yeah, he's pretty good.
Versus like now the absolute most immobile quarterback in the NFL right now.
Maybe in NFL history. His current state. His
current state, yeah, maybe. So it's obviously such a difference, and it's such a disappointment from 7-1, right? 7-1 when they made.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Or were they 7-2 when they made the Sauce Gardner trade? Maybe, but they looked unstoppable. You think about how dominant they looked, and the thing I understand injuries, but like their defense was also a part of how well they were playing. Early this year. So it's an interesting situation. Like what do Colts fans think about that? All you can hope is that Sauce Gardner comes back and is just incredible next year, right?
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones comes back and is healthy. Incredible.
Yeah.
There are good pieces in place.
Yeah, I mean, they've got good pieces in place, but, you are talking about an Achilles with Daniel Jones, and I understand that, there have been advancements in terms of getting back quicker from Achilles injuries, and the two guys that we've seen do this at quarterback most recently were significantly older than Daniel Jones is right now, and Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, Joe, with both of those guys, Cousins for sure, like it took him a while to get over that Achilles injury, right? So, like, I have no idea, first off, like when Daniel Jones is going to be able to get back on the field. And when he's back on the field, how long is it before he's like, back and able to run and able to trust it and all those things? Like it took Cousins a while. I'm interested to see how long it goes with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and younger, but also, again, more dependent on running the ball. If he is not a threat and a intentionally used threat with his legs, then he loses a lot of his value as a quarterback. So how does that look? I mean, interested, like, are Colts fans convinced that he's the answer from what they saw this year? I mean, I guess I'd still be a little skeptical at this point, but then it's like, okay, are they getting into are they getting back into the quarterback search?
I just give Rivers an offseason, man. I get Rivers an offseason, come in, maybe lose some of that weight he's put on that he's talked about, and come back at 45 next year, and that'd be good to go.
Well, I will say, watching him play, it's like that guy put on more than a couple pounds
Oh, yeah.
in the last few years. you
I mean, I
get him
totally
out
respect
there.
it.
Oh, me too, man. Hey, man, it's pretty awesome. It is amazing. Like some of those throws truly looked like. I mean, I said this last night with my family. Like it looked like Grandpa playing catch with me on the beach,
Yeah.
in the '80s. Like
I mean, but it's
just
also like
absolute.
it's amazing, Joe, that yes, like it's very clear that he put on more than a couple of pounds, and he's also been out of the league for 5 years. And within the span of like a week and a half, he's come in and darn near beat the Seattle Seahawks. And I know last night on the scoreboard they weren't close. He did throw for like 277 yards in an NFL game. Like it's pretty amazing that he's done that based on the current state of physicality that he is occupying.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see him get a win. It doesn't. I mean, what they're technically alive, I guess.
Yeah.
But
They got
not
Jacksonville and Houston.
yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. I'm a Colts fan. Indy Ben. I know somebody wanted I think Johnny wanted a wellness check on Indy Ben. I'd like to hear from Indy Ben today, but we're on your side, or I am anyway. I'm on your side. Okay.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We mentioned it. A lot of the spots in the AFC playoff race are wrapped up. What do we make of the contenders? Who's on that list? And where do we have to put the folks from Duval on that list? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe, multiple people pointing out his children were all at the game, and then the people at the bar or restaurant or wherever they were, his high school football team. A lot of people watching Phillip Rivers last night.
Okay. That was his high school. Oh, okay. The high school football team he coaches.
Correct.
I'm like, yeah, those dudes did not look Phillip Rivers' age.
Wow, you guys are young. Good for you.
Like with Phillip Rivers, like Doogie Howser or something.
Hello, fellow kids. Got any eligibility left? Oh, man.
Okay, good to know.
Good to know. We went through the playoffs in the AFC, that the spots that have been clinched. There's 5 of them that have been clinched to this point, and I feel pretty good about both teams that have not yet clinched, be that the Steelers and the Houston Texans, for wrapping up those final 2 spots. Now, we'll see. Lamar Jackson apparently is going to at least try to play on Saturday night this week, dealing with the back injury. So we'll see what that looks like as they take on the Green Bay Packers. Pittsburgh gets a huge win on Sunday against the Detroit Lions. If you look at the numbers over the last 3 weeks from Rodgers, he has been really good the last 3 weeks. And I believe that they have the Browns coming up this weekend. So I don't know if you watched the Browns lately. That's not gone very well. So,
no DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
He got suspended 2 games.
No
we'll see if he appeals.
Metcalf. We will see if that appeal comes and it's reduced to 1. But at the moment, 2-game suspension for Metcalf. So I think the Steelers are going to end up winning the division here, but we will see what happens on that front. Joe, Jacksonville over the weekend walked into Denver and just smacked the Broncos, which has been a very difficult thing to do. That's a very good defense. And Trevor Lawrence looked great on Sunday. And that is now 11-4 are the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are playing really good football. We mentioned yesterday Liam Cohen and where he's got to fit in on Coach of the Year. I mean, he's certainly going to be in that discussion. So I guess let's start here. Is it to the point where we have to buy Jacksonville as a legitimate Super Bowl threat in your mind?
It's hard for me to get there, but then you look at like the last outing in particular, and it was an eyeful for sure of really what they have going on both sides of the ball. And I just think that obviously part of the discussion is the lack of obvious. It's just such a different year in the AFC now, right? I mean, it's just so different with the Chiefs out. The Bengals are a non-factor. You mentioned, I don't know. I still somehow in the back of my mind, I still have this vision of the like I'm watching the other night. I'm like, okay, that looks like the Ravens, but Lamar can't stay healthy. I mean, I still think they could be a threat if they somehow got in, but I mean, my goodness, what's the percentage chance that they're even in at this point?
Very low.
The Bill, go ahead.
No, I just saying it's very low. I mean, they need the Steelers to lose to the Browns this weekend, and they also need to win out.
I mean, you go back 2 months, get absolutely blown out by the Rams. Somehow have to go to overtime to beat the freaking Raiders, and then a devastating loss at Houston, really in a game they were in total control of. And it's like, okay, it's just going to be another blah. They're 5-4, not looking good, and they're just, they're just really playing good football. But I mean, especially obviously the Chargers win, that was a while ago, but this last week, it's like, then you can get yourself into, okay, you could actually turn yourself back to, so maybe are the Broncos pretenders? But still at Denver. And I mean, I don't know. I watched most of that game against your Packers, and I came away saying, okay, they actually are legit.
Well, their defense is really good. I mean,
Yes.
that's probably the most eye-opening thing from Jacksonville going in there and winning the way that they did, is Denver's defense is legit. I mean, both from the standpoint of, I think they've probably got the best corner in the league in Surtain, and they've had an extremely good pass rush. So the fact that Lawrence was able to go in and play as well as he did on the road against that defense, that's the eye-opening part of it. I mean, I do wonder, is this like a hot streak for Lawrence?
I don't know.
Like,
or has he turned the corner?
It's a great question because I don't know the answer. I mean, the way that he's playing right now is really, really good. Now, it wasn't that long ago. It was November the 23rd. They played against Arizona, and he was 18 of 30. He threw for 3 touchdowns in the game. He also threw for 3 picks. I think he fumbled another one. So it's like,
Yep.
he is now. I don't think he's thrown a pick since then. Like, that's 4 weeks now in a row where he's not thrown a pick, and that I think he's got. Let's see here, 12 touchdowns in that span. So 12 touchdowns and no picks for Lawrence in the last 4 weeks. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heater. It's a heater for sure, right? It's just a question of, because it wasn't that long ago. I mean, he's had ups and downs even this year. He'll have more downs. I have little doubt about that. But maybe it's turning the corner to an extent, and if that's the case, then it's all about what he does in the playoffs.
Yeah. So what does this all mean for the Titans? Because it in some ways it's kind of amazing how the division has shifted this year. Because if you go back the first 5 weeks, the Colts were the story of the league. They were, Jonathan Taylor was in the running for MVP earlier in the year with the way that he was playing. You had Daniel Jones playing as well as he was. And, Joe, as you just mentioned, the Houston was 0-3 to start the year. Jacksonville had a couple of big wins in there. Liam Cohen almost fought Robert Saleh after they beat San Francisco on the road after a game. But they were kind of struggling. They couldn't get any traction. And now since then, Houston has gone on an absolute tear. Jacksonville has gone on an absolute tear. Indy's completely fallen off at this point. It's not going to make the playoffs. But you still look at Indy, as you said last segment, moving ahead. And there are some pieces there that I think you have to feel good about. So if you're the Titans looking at all this in terms of what's going on in your division right now, how do you view it? And how does that impact your vision, your plan for what's realistic over the next couple of years?
Yeah, like to me, you're still, even with this glimmer of hope, and again, maybe this is a no-duh thing to say, but we don't want to get overboard with the optimism, based on playing a little bit better here and getting to 3 wins. But you still look at the future, and it may not be like in the past where it's like, well, Andrew Luck's in Indy, so good luck. Or I guess really like Houston and Jacksonville went through the QB wilderness for quite a while. But that was a great player at quarterback and all that stuff that you knew you had to get past until he retired abruptly. But Trevor Lawrence, I think this year does signify a step forward, which is one of those things where it's like he's several years into his career. And again, I don't think he's ever going to be the prince who was promised, right? But you feel okay with him if you're Jacksonville, and they've done some good drafting, and they've got. And I think Liam Cohen's pretty good. He's going to ruffle some feathers, but I think he's a pretty good coach. There we go. You look at Houston. Stroud is still. He's good. I don't know where that's going to go, but you have to feel good about having him, right? You've had your ups and downs, some injuries, things like that. Man, do they have a loaded defense and a lot of good young players. And then, like you said, Indy, they have a good roster. That's the one you're least afraid of if they're going to lean on Daniel Jones or they have to go looking around. But it's still like just the next few years right now. You've got massive ground to make up. Those teams may not be. We'll see if Jacksonville's a contender this year, but they're at least in the discussion. We're having the discussion. I think Houston also can be in the discussion. They're not far from that. So how far from them are you?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. What do you make of what Rexrode just threw out there? What do you make of the outlook for the division with Jacksonville playing as well as they are? Houston, their defense coming on the way that they are. And what does this all mean for the Titans over the next couple of years? We'll continue that conversation coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 102.5 The Game, your home for the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl coming up on Tuesday, December 30th. That is 1 week from today. Music City Bowl coverage presented by Pickers Vodka and Beyond the Edge Sports Bar. Taking your thoughts on the AFC South. Jacksonville looking good. Houston looking pretty good right now. Indy has fallen off with the injuries that they've sustained. But what does this all mean for the Titans over the next couple of years? Joe, the one thing I'll say on that, I agree with everything you just said in terms of, right now it's looking like the Titans have a ton of ground to make up on all these teams. The wild part about this division over the last couple of years is it's been pretty unpredictable from the standpoint of, Houston, as we know, they drafted Stroud. They went from completely terrible to winning the division in 1 year. Jacksonville, had all sorts of turmoil at the end of last season, from an ownership standpoint. I mean, they've been a pretty poorly run franchise, as we know. And they've hired Liam Cohen, and all of a sudden, you hire Liam Cohen, you bring in a 13-year-old general manager, and things going pretty well for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Like Houston was 0-3 to begin the year. People were talking about, they're not very good. And then Stroud got hurt in the middle of the year. And my man Davis Mills just did nothing but step in there and rise above the expectations and lead people to wins in there. And all of a sudden, they're back to being the team that I think people thought they were going to be heading into the season in terms of they got a pretty staunch defense. And like you said, like Stroud hadn't come in and, it's not like he's been incredible or anything, but he's done enough over the last few weeks to complement what is a defense that nobody wants to see in the first round of the playoffs coming up here. So I say all that to say things in this division over the last couple of years with some of these teams have changed pretty dramatically. Like, would it surprise me if after being the story of the league for the first 8-9 weeks of the season, along with the Patriots, that the Colts next year, with all the problems they've got right now at quarterback and, Daniel Jones and his health, would it surprise me if they weren't very good next year? Probably not. I mean, Jacksonville, for as good as things look right now, it's Jacksonville. When's the last time they put back-to-back good seasons together? Would it surprise me if they weren't all that good next year? No. So, things have a history recently, Joe, other than the Titans, of changing pretty quickly in this division.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. No doubt. Texter says, I honestly think for Trevor Lawrence, next season will show you everything because the first season with Doug Peterson, he looked really good. That was 2022, right? That was the year that they and then he fell off each year until Peterson got fired. Yeah, but I also feel like it's Lawrence, but it's also, they have a better team now. I think that's one thing. And it's also early with Liam Cohen, but it seems like he's pretty good. So I just, with Trevor Lawrence, I don't think that he's ever going to get into the session. I don't know that he's going to be an MVP candidate anytime soon or anything like that, but I do think that they've built a pretty solid team and probably the scariest overall roster is probably Houston, which has kind of been what we thought. And then, like you said, they started so poorly this year. There's going to be ups and downs for sure. And the Colts, the quarterback question is really interesting. But, the Titans, if the Titans can get to the point where we're not talking about Cam Ward anymore, it's like, okay, Cam Ward's going to be the quarterback. That would be obviously a big part of it. And we're not there, of course, yet. But if you get to that point, then, it's all about just building. And there's still so many holes to fill. It's not a 1 year process. It could be a 1 year process, as I just said yesterday, to be relevant to some extent next year. But that also means, again, with these teams, okay, well, you have 6 games against those teams, right?
Yeah.
So in some eras or stretches, that's a good thing. Like, boy, it's good thing we got 6 games against these guys. Right now, not necessarily such a great thing.
Well, it's, it wasn't that long ago, the AFC South, it was a pretty easy path to get to the playoffs if you could put together a competent football team, right? Like your chances of winning the division pretty good if you could at least just be competent out there.
It's like the NFC South now.
Yeah, like it's that appears not to be the case anymore. Like, we'll see how much staying power Jacksonville has, but to your point, like they've got a pretty solid foundation of players. Cohen looks like he's a good get. And by the way, I mean, it is worth mentioning they're doing all of this without the guy that they just moved heaven and earth to go draft, right? Travis Hunter. So what if he ends up being the player that they thought he is when they drafted him? Well, that ain't good news for the rest of the AFC South either. Now, whether or not he's going to be that,
Right.
I have no idea. But that is worth bringing up in this discussion is, they clearly thought Travis Hunter was worth blowing up their future assets the way that they did to go get him. And they're doing all this without him, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, no doubt.
Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up.
My God, gets worse every time. Yeah, he's going to be good. I mean, he's going to be a player who matters to them. Yeah, are they going to look back and say, "Whew, good thing we did what we did to get him"? I don't know about that, but certainly it's impressive they're doing it without him, and I have no doubt he's going to be good. I hope they get smarter. Maybe Titans fans should hope otherwise, and hope they keep messing around with him on both sides of the ball. I'd make him a corner and watch him become a great corner, but he's gonna matter to some extent for sure.
Well, and then if you're the Titans, it goes back to obviously the coach you hire, but also how much from a roster standpoint can you make up in one offseason, right? I mean, they're not going to catch Houston and the defense that they've put together in one offseason, right? They're not going to catch probably the overall talent level of what we see with Jacksonville right now in one offseason. But they do have an absolute ton of money available to them to spend. They've got an opportunity to build through the draft. So purely from a roster perspective, I mean, look, even the Colts absolutely destroyed the Titans in both of their matchups this year. Now, I'd realize that a lot of things have happened with the Colts since then. But from a roster standpoint, you're clearly behind all of these teams, significantly behind all of these teams. So how much ground, purely from the roster part of it, can you make up in one offseason?
Yeah, and obviously we are framing it this way. I think for the Titans, it's just get better, and not compare. We're comparing. You don't. If you're the Titans, you don't necessarily compare, but if you can get yourself to the way your offense suddenly is functioning with improvement from some of the young guys, first of all, and then also with enhanced pieces around that offense, all of a sudden, okay. I mean, it's kind of wild to me that in my mind, I'm thinking like the offense actually is closer right now. But it's just because how many guys on defense, they have to have another edge. You've got a few guys up down the middle of that defense feel good about, but boy, you have so much. I mean, the corner room or the corner group, the edge, there's just so much, to me, more to do there to be, I don't know about be decent. I mean, I guess they're decent on D right now. It's hard to know too, because this season has been like, it's been so bad, and they've been so bad for so long that it's like you're not used to even seeing them play relevant games against these teams in their division. I mean, I guess early in the season, technically they are, but they really aren't. So how far away are they? I mean, I don't think they're terribly far from like being able to beat some of those teams here and there if they have a good offseason.
I am really interested to see how they approach wide receiver this offseason, because DK is obviously an electric returner. I think he's a decent wide receiver, right? Like Io Manor has played better last couple of weeks. Like those guys absolutely at receiver should be part of your future. How do you slot them? That's going to be what I think is interesting. I think we all expect, whether it's in the first round this year or I don't know, in the first round a couple of years from now, like they're gonna I think take a high receiver in the draft pretty soon here. How do they supplement all that? I was talking with Gentry Estes yesterday at the Saban press conference, which we'll get into here in a minute. But he was like, everybody just assumes that they're going to cut Calvin Ridley. And I understand why they think that, but they don't have to, right? Like Ridley, if he's healthy again next year, they do need veterans in the room. If they move on from him, they're going to have to go find somebody else that kind of fills that role, which they very well may end up doing. I don't know. But like his point was, I don't think it's just an absolute foregone conclusion that Ridley is gone. I think I've kind of operated that it is a foregone conclusion that he's gone. But I don't know. Like, how does Borgonzi view all that? When you look at the receivers out there, I mean, we mentioned a couple last week. I mean, kind of hurts me to say Romeo Dobbs' name right now when he can't catch an onside kick, but he's going to be probably available out there, and I think could be a good fit here for the Titans. I'm interested this offseason how much they try to upgrade at that spot when you look at all the other stuff they've got to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm with Gentry that it's at least worth keeping in mind as a possibility. And it's not like, I mean, if you had Ridley and you got a pretty good version of him next year, maybe it's not worth the money, but if you have that and a really promising rookie to add to the room, you don't really have to do that much else, right?
No,
it's just a matter of how it fits and whether that fits together. And also potentially, Ridley could be looking at I guess some kind of a reduced role, but at this point in his career, I would hope that he wouldn't have any illusions either about him being, somebody's wide receiver one.
Right.
I mean, just does he still want to be here? It seemed like he and Cam Ward had some decent chemistry. Richard on the YouTube chat said he could be trade bait for the deadline next year. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, what are they going to be next year? To me, if you're keeping Ridley, it's because you think he can help you win next year.
They keep him. They better figure out a way to get him going before the month of October starts. September part of the NFL season too. Be nice to get him going there.
That is true. And then also have him on the field after that.
Yeah, that'd be great. 615
after October.
Yeah, 615-737-1025. Our phone number 615-737-1025. The new Nashville Predators minority owner was introduced yesterday, and boy, was it a circus in there. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
I'm no expert in hockey, so don't look at me like I'm going to make some huge impact coaching around here, because that's not going to happen. But I do have a pretty good idea of what it takes to have successful organizations. And one of the reasons that we wanted to partner with the Predators and Mr. Haslam and this organization, they want to be successful. They want to be successful, the people in this town, the fans who support it. You know, we came to a game several years ago when we were in the playoffs here and playing the Pittsburgh team. And, you know, I got killed for wearing Predator stuff because I grew up in West Virginia and they're all Pittsburgh fans and everything. So I got absolutely blasted for being a traitor. But
I know how that feels.
I'm not a traitor. And we may have beat Tennessee 16 times, which I'm really proud of, but the only game that I remember is the one we lost. So, but anyway, we're happy to be here. We're excited to be here.
That's Nick Saban, new minority owner of the Nashville Predators yesterday. And Joe, what was a borderline surreal press conference? I did about 3 minutes into it. I looked at Gentry tomorrow. I was like, what in the world are we doing? Like, what world are we living in right here where Nick Saban is involved with the Nashville Predators? It was kind of amazing. I mean, look, you know, the press conference was what it was yesterday. You know, we were talking about it beforehand, Joe. It was like, so what are we going to ask him? You know, like there's only so much he's doing, right? Like, it's not like Nick Saban is going to be around every day on like the day-to-day operations of the Nashville Predators. But, you know, he talked about, you know, his process came up a lot. And, you know, he said that he'll work with the coaches, he'll work with the players and try to get them the proper psychological disposition. I think I've heard that term from him approximately 800 times over the course of his career. It was cool to see Nick Saban in Predators attire yesterday, Joe.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and I thought there were some good moments in the presser. Did they make the other guy available who just bought some of the team? They make that guy available?
Did not see him in there.
Hey, dude,
did not see Joe Agresti in there.
Welcome to you too. What do you do in your life? Yeah, tell us about yourself. My favorite part of the Saban presser was when he said that. I didn't know Cam Skedaboo from a load of coal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, good questions by you and Gentry, and seemed like he was jolly. He seems like a happy guy, you know. He's out there living the dream, man.
He was jolly. I mean, he was like 10 minutes late to the press conference, and he showed up and was like, "How y'all doing? What's going on?" They're like, "Why are you late?" He's like, "They wouldn't let us land the plane." Just joking around all over the place. Like it, you know, I thought back to some of the press conference moments we've seen from him at Alabama in the heyday there. And it's like, wow, boys, he come a long way. He's just happy-go-lucky Nick Saban in the room yesterday.
Good for him. So yeah, what is he? What kind of imprint can he leave? Is he actually going to be? Because I know he said, you know, I'm here. I'm available.
Yeah.
All this stuff. Is it like the occasional, motivational speech? How are they gonna use Nick Saban?
Yeah, it's a really interesting. I don't think that Saban is going to be around like all that much, right? Like I don't, obviously during football season, he's doing College Game Day, and he talked about it a couple times yesterday. He still enjoys getting down there and playing golf and doing all that stuff. So like, I don't think Nick Saban is looking for a full-time job over here with the Predators in the offseason or anything. But like, it's pretty clear, he did mention at one point yesterday, Joe, like, when you're sitting in the stadium before, Alabama's about to play a big game against Oklahoma, or you're in the stadium like they were for, Texas A&M and Miami, like right then, like you miss being a part of it, right? Like he's talked about being a competitor and missing that part of it. Said, am I willing to put in the 14 hours a day in the week to lead up to the game anymore? No. And that's what happens when you're old. Well, like, he said this about, when he joined College Game Day, and he said it a couple of times again yesterday, like, being a part of a team is clearly something that he likes. So my guess is like, I think if you're Andrew Brunette, if you're Barry Trotz, if you're Bill Haslam, like, I think you'd be crazy not to, and have him in as much as he wants to come in and go over some of those philosophical things. Like, how are you what's your training regimen look like? Like, look, he's a football coach, right? So there are limitations from the hockey standpoint as to what he's going to be able to do. And I think he tried to make that as clear as possible yesterday, right? Like, it's like, I don't think Nick Saban's going to be weighing in anytime soon on like who the Predators should be playing at third line center. But like, part of your job, maybe the most important part of your job as a coach, right, is like, how do you connect with people? How do you bring the best out of people, right? And he's, I mean, one of the best we've ever seen at doing that. So, like, I think you'd be crazy not to try to utilize that in some way. For people who think he's going to come in and, he's just going to be overly, like, I got a lot of this yesterday of like, well, Saban's going to come in there and he's going to be, he'll give them shaped up and they'll be ready to win a Stanley Cup here in the next couple of years. Like, I don't know how much involvement we're going to see, but like he left the door open to being, relatively involved when you think about all the other things that he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Saban, I think a lot of his stuff as a CEO, as a coach, is translatable, right, to different sports and probably different industries. Obviously, he's a football guy, so
right.
A lot of his success also is the fact that he's like just an excellent, X's and O's coach, like that. But certainly, he's got some universal, I think, things and strengths that maybe could be applied. If I'm Bill Haslam, I'm definitely happy to have him around as long as he doesn't keep taking shots at Tennessee football, at my beloved Vols, which he made sure to get that in yesterday. But I mean, it's a cool thing at the very least, right? I mean, it's cool, and maybe there is in all seriousness a little bit of beyond just, hey, thanks for your investment,
right?
A little bit of value that he can actually add back in. Lance yes, Lance is saying that the Preds value has gone from $965 million in 2023 to $1.65 billion today. Is that an accurate number?
That's probably about accurate, but I mean you've got a couple years at that point of the 32nd team being involved in the league. There's the new TV deal with ESPN and the new Canadian TV deal. Like, the league is there's a reason that Nick Saban, beyond his love of sports, is investing in this. It's because right now the NHL is growing. It's a pretty good return investment. Yeah. So, I mean, look, Haslam talked about this yesterday. I mean, it's no secret that Bill Haslam, in addition to owning the Predators, was trying to get a WNBA team here, right? And I still think that's probably going to happen at some point. But that's where the conversation began with him and Nick Saban, was the WNBA team. And when that fell through, Saban was like, well, I like hockey. I'd like to get involved with hockey if that's something you'd be interested in. And that's how they worked it out. But, it kind of felt like it started with the WNBA stuff, and then they pivoted to hockey when that didn't work.
I hadn't really even thought about the whole West Virginia / Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh sports fans angle there.
Yeah, apparently he just got absolutely eviscerated when he did that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Well,
it's
I
the
think
Pittsburgh Penguins, by the way.
Yeah,
Nick,
the Pittsburgh team.
It's Penguins.
Yeah.
Yep. Had trouble remembering that one. Yeah.
Pittsburgh hockey team.
I mean, he did say yesterday, he was like, I knew Miss Terry would come up at some point. He said, Miss Terry never asked me about the score for anything. And then last night I'm checking score. She asked me who won the Predators game. So, it runs deep in our house, is what he said.
There you go. All right, Miss Terry. Good times. Yeah. So it is, as you got to see, I mean, talk about, and I know he's retired now, but even I feel like, late stage Alabama, Saban, much more calm and kind of personable public demeanor than decades of his life.
No, I would say this too. I mean, there's usually, I think in the press room after the game Sunday night, there was like, I don't know, 7 of us in the room. There's like 78 people in that room yesterday. Like it was a crazy amount of people in the room yesterday.
That's the power of Nick Saban. Now, my question is Nick Saban, is he a guy who, is he a guy who can endure a little pain to get a bigger gain, or is he just want to kind of drift around the middle?
Well, that's a good question.
Forever and ever.
It's a good question, because look no further than what we saw this weekend. Preds are winning some hockey games right now. What does it mean for the outlook for the rest of this season? What does it mean for how Barry Trotz will approach things with the roster moving forward in the short term this season? We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have the Rob rant coming up later this hour at 7:45, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, we discussed Nick Saban. Right now, he's joining the winner. Preds are winning a lot of hockey games. They've won 9 out of their last 13 games. From a standings perspective, Joe, they have made up some ground. They are now better than 4 teams in the Western Conference. Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Chicago all below the Nashville Predators in the standings right now. The problem is Chicago is the last place team in the West right now, Joe. They are at 32 points. The Predators are at 34. So with the progress they've made, they're still just 2 points out of the last spot in the Western Conference. Now, they're only 5 points out of the last wild card spot. So basically, like, the wild card race right now, and this is kind of what happens sometimes when you have 3 teams that are just absolutely running away with everything. Like Colorado at the top, they're 35 games into the year. They've lost 2 games in regulation. I mean, they're 26-2-7. They've got 59 points. Rexrode's got, for some reason, a Colorado glass that he's putting on a screen right now. I mean, the guy's got an unbelievable amount of sporting goods supply.
Patty Roy.
Yeah, well, I've told you my aunt and uncle are, first day season ticket holders out there, and it's just an absolute traitorous way to live your life, Aunt Mary. Growing up a Red Wings fan, traitorous. Speaking of Nick Saban.
It's going very well for them right now, though. Very good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the Avs are at 59. Dallas is at 55. Minnesota at 49. Now, the Preds are playing Minnesota tonight, so you'll get a look at them. But the bottom line is, like, I don't think anybody's catching those 3 teams in the Central, right? Like, they're running away with it. So those are probably the 3 best teams in the Western Conference, and they all play in the Central Division. So if you're the Predators, Ryan O'Reilly talked about it after the game on Sunday. He said they're climbing back into this thing. They're still in the fight. And technically they are. Like the wild card race, there's not a ton of separation from the first wild card spot that the Kings currently occupy to the last place team in the West in Chicago. So, Joe, with all that kind of in the backdrop, what do you make of the Predators winning 9 of their last 13, playing some better hockey, and now kind of right in a jumbled mess with basically the entirety of the rest of the Western Conference other than those 3 teams at the top of the Central?
It's a great thing that there's something different to talk about with this team. It's a great thing that there's some guys who are making some plays, seeing some chemistry. I think like the Evangelista story this year, that is pretty promising for the Preds, right? I mean, for example, and again, there's some other young guys that you start to feel good about. So, and you like to see some of these veterans also have some success and play well. I mean, we're seeing seeing a lot of good stuff here. It's also, to me, I don't know if it's a concern, but I'm not blaming any Preds fan who's like, oh God, don't go crazy with this, because if you get yourself within the 8 teams that are making the playoffs and you're hanging in there for a while, what does that mean about how Barry Trotz views everything, right? I mean, it's hard not to go there. Great for the guys in the locker room. Really, I think it's great for everyone that we're not just sitting here talking about the worst team in the league and, I guess Andrew Brunette's still here and all those things. There are some good things happening. But I understand, why people would also be a little bit nervous about what it could mean big picture.
Well, I still think this is, if I'm Barry Trotz, the way that I'd be operating. Right now, my plans wouldn't have changed all that much, right? Like, I think, Barry Trotz has not come out and said it, but he has said that he's listening on all this stuff. I'd still be heavily listening if I were Barry Trotz. And right now, as fun as it's been over the last couple of weeks and as good as it is, to your point, Joe, to see something different, and for, Stamkos is hot right now and Forsberg's hot right now. O'Reilly's playing great. Like they're winning games and their veteran guys are carrying them. And Evangelista has come on this year. I mean, the goal he scored the other night against Toronto was absurd. It's a ridiculous goal that he scored. So there's a lot to like about what you're seeing right now. If I'm Barry Trotz, in order to change what I think should be the plan, and that is to start moving on from some of these veteran guys if possible. I need to see it for about another month in a row, right? Like you need to like if you keep playing this way and you're in the wild card spot by the time the Olympic break comes around, then okay, maybe I'll start to reconsider stuff at that point. But I need to see it a little bit longer if I'm Trotz to change the plan. Now, look, I know there are some Predators fans that are like, screw that. Like, I don't care if they win every game between now and the trade deadline. Start moving on from some of these guys. And I understand that line of thinking. I really do. Now, it's going to be interesting here. Like, Stamkos has got trade protection. Marchessault's got trade protection. O'Reilly doesn't, but, Friedman and others have reported they've all basically treated him like he does. And the sense I get from O'Reilly is he don't want to go anywhere. Now, that may change at some point, and if you're the Predators, it may be, look, man, I understand that we've treated you this way, but at some point you're just going to have to go because we're going to have to, we got to get some assets for you while we can. But if they keep winning, like I'm really interested to see if for some reason they keep this up over like the next month, how does that influence things? Right now, I don't think it will with Barry Trotz, but if they're able to keep it up, it could get a little interesting.
So there's even the step beyond, which again seems like still like a complete fantasy, which is, okay, what can we go get to help with a run?
Yeah.
Right.
That'd go over well.
Yeah. I'm gonna operate under the assumption that's not going to be a consideration. Because that is, to me, that would, again, I'm saying this, who knows what happens between now and then. Like you said, maybe they are the best team in the league for a month straight. And so things like that, you just don't know. You don't know until you go through them and see what it looks like at the moment. But first of all, let's, like you just mentioned, these teams at the top, in a 7-game series, how would the Preds fare against those teams?
And that's what I think you have to keep in mind in this whole thing is, like, they're not getting into the top 3 of the Central. Right now they're 15 points behind Minnesota, who's in 3rd place in the Central, which is just insane. So they're not getting into the top 3 of the Central, which means if you make the wild card, Joe, you're looking at either a first-round series against Colorado, which it's not going to go well, or a first-round series against the winner of the Pacific Division, which is probably going to end up being either Vegas or Edmonton. So, I think you got to keep that in mind if you're Barry Trotz in these discussions as well. And again, like, I'm not going to get too crazy here. We're still a long way away, to be clear, from them in the wild card conversation too, right? Like, I understand that they're 5 points back. So is everybody else for the most part. So, like I said, they're 2 points removed from still being at the very bottom of the Western Conference. So if nothing else, I hope Predators fans have enjoyed having some actual fun hockey to watch, because earlier in the season, they didn't have a whole lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. And then see where it goes. But I think it was so bad and it was so obvious. Okay, here it is. Here's the sell-off, and it's just going to look really different. And now it's like, well, there they go. And look, you don't blame someone like O'Reilly or these guys in the locker room for being like, screw that, man. Like, we don't care what you guys say. Like, we're trying to win hockey games. We're busting our butt every day to try to do this. So let's take out the idea of Barry Trotz being a buyer of any sort. Is it if they're right there again? Let's say that they get themselves to within, like they're in a spot and there's a little bit of separation from the absolute worst teams, and they're going to be hanging right in there. If that's the case, as we get to the trade deadline, let's say they're not comfortably, but like they're solidly in a spot. Is it disastrous for Barry Trotz to stand pat?
Disastrous? Probably not. But I'll put it to you this way. I think they can get a lot for Ryan O'Reilly. And I think one of the reasons they can get a lot for Ryan O'Reilly, there's a few reasons. Number one, he's playing really well. Number two, he's exactly the type of guy that these teams want in the playoffs. Number 3, he
Yep.
plays center, which is a very valuable position. And then number 4, I think part of the appeal of why I think they could get so much for O'Reilly right now is the team that acquires him would have him for the rest of this year and then next, right? So there's value there where it's not just a rental player. So like his maximum value to me is going to be now. So I think you'd have to be pretty darn sure that you have a chance to put together some sort of run to me, Joe, to pass up on that. And I understand, look, they love O'Reilly. O'Reilly is a big part of their like culture setting stuff that they do around here. O'Reilly loves being here. Like it's pretty clear that if he had his druthers, I don't think he wants to go anywhere. But at some point, like you got to look at the value. It would have to be, you'd have to feel pretty darn good about what you've turned into as a team to pass up on that, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm talking about being somewhat solidly in a spot, but
Yeah.
I think you described it exactly. It really has to be not only, okay, this team can make the playoffs. No, this team can do something in the playoffs.
Right.
Can we get to the point? Is it possible? Do we get to the point where this team, as constructed, can actually feel that and not be crazy for feeling that?
I don't know. I still think we're a long ways from that. You know, they're playing better right now, but I still look at their center ice depth and I'm like, you know, how sustainable is it when you're just, I'm not going to say inept, but when you're limited with what you are at center ice beyond O'Reilly. Like, I think that's a really hard thing to maintain. So we'll see if they can do it. Now, there is another part of this that I don't think has been discussed as much over the last couple of weeks that I want to get Joe's thoughts on coming up next as well. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Today, between noon and 3, Chase and Big Joe will have your chance to win a $100 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card and qualify to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card as well. It's the 12 days of Christmas on 102.5 The Game. The NFL game of the week this week, Cowboys and Commanders, coming up on Thursday at noon on 102.5 The Game. NFL game of the week presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Predators. They've won 9 out of 13, playing some better hockey. And, Joe, another part about this that I don't think locally is being discussed as much around here. What about Andrew Brunette through all this? Like, they went to Sweden, and they lost that second game in Sweden. And, I remember having conversations on the show. I remember having conversations with other people. I mean, didn't it kind of feel like Andrew Brunette was dead in the water at that point, right? Like, I mean, it felt like the perfect break in the schedule that if you were going to make a coaching change, that lined up to probably when it should be. I think, again, and I've said this a couple of times over the last couple of years, I think there are a lot of teams around the league that probably would have made a coaching change at that point. And obviously, the Predators did not. And Barry Trotz stuck with it. To the point, Joe, where in the aftermath of that, based on some of the things that Trotz said with DVD and some of his interviews, I mean, we basically said, Andrew Brunette, I guess we'll revisit that conversation at the end of the year because it doesn't sound like Barry Trotz has all that much interest in making a move. Now, I was interested to see how would the team respond after all that because, they've preached about some of the changes that they've made in the defensive zone and, I think early in the year, they were probably a better defensive team than they were a year ago, but they couldn't score for the life of them. Like they couldn't generate any offense. And now, Joe, they're playing better hockey. He has kind of stuck with his guns and come out of this on the other side for now. We'll see how the rest of it goes the rest of the year. But the thing that stands out to me right now, Joe, is they are playing pretty well defensively. But now all of a sudden they're like pretty dangerous on the rush, right? Like if Evangelista scores that goal on the rush the other night, great rush play between O'Reilly and Forsberg. Stamkos has gotten a couple of good looks on the rush, and they're finding a way to, their breakouts are cleaner. They're chipping it around, some of these defensemen on the wall, and it's leading to a lot of 2-on-1s, a lot of 3-on-2s over the last couple of weeks here, and they're burying them. So it not just a results standpoint, the way that they're getting some of these results are changing. And he talked about that after the game the other night. Like he knew the rush game was going to be a work in progress this year, but it feels like they're making some pretty big progress on that. So I say all that to say, Joe, and they didn't fire Andrew Brunette, and the team has responded since all that. So what do you make of the Brunette factor in all this?
Well, one thing about this is, go back to earlier in the year when we were talking about their underlying numbers were suggesting that there was improvement. The expected goals, all that stuff was better. They weren't finishing. And then it's just, so it's like, okay, well, maybe some of these guys can't finish in whatever it is. But some of this, I think, is just regression, right? Over time, you're gonna bury some chances more here, and then you're gonna have ups and downs. But also, yeah, they do look like they're playing more like the team that the style that Andrew Brunette wants. I got to say, when you think about all that he's gone through as a coach, and again, I don't want to take anything off his plate there, but you think about just the off season. Was he going to keep the job last year? The issues with different guys, think about Marchessault last year and everything. And then this year, when it, like you said, it just by traditional NHL operating procedure, he's probably gone, and he just hangs in there and they get better, and now they're winning. You got to be, to me, awfully impressed with what he's done to keep coaching through all that stuff and get them to where they are, right? I mean, I think it's pretty impressive.
I think so too. Like, I think he's handled this part of it well. Now, is he the answer for the Predators at coach long term? Like, is he going to be able to coach his way through this to the point where they get the roster back where they think it's ready to be competitive? Is he still there? I'm not willing to go there yet, right? Like, I mean, at some point, the results are what they are, and you have to react accordingly if you're Barry Trotz and the organization. Now, what are the results going to be at the end of the year? I don't know. They're playing good hockey right now. They may get back into the playoffs. I have no idea. But I do think, like, we heard, I think, a little bit too much of the guys in the locker room have tuned out Andrew Burnett or they've quit on the coach. And it's like, I don't ever think that was the case. And I think what they've done since then pretty clearly shows you, Joe, that they did not tune out Andrew Burnett.
Yeah. The toxicity.
Yeah.
Whatever that meant exactly. Again, I was seriously took that as more toward Trotz, but who knows? I mean, he said in no unspecific terms on our airwaves that it was a BS.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, they've responded. He's responded, and it's a good question on moving forward. If you're Andrew Burnett, because I'm sorry, but the Preds are not going to be able to just win through everything and come out the other side. There's going to be pain to get there. So if you're, how does that look when you get to that point? When you get to the pain part, and if you're Andrew Burnett, right? You're going to keep hearing about your job all the time. You're going to have a roster for whatever period of time that really can't win.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I think he's proving himself as a coach here through this process. I got to think that he's helped himself big picture in this league some with how he has navigated through all this stuff.
Well, and again, like, I don't want to make any grand sweeping takeaways from the way that they've played over the last few weeks, because I still think the idea of them making the playoffs, like if you told me right now to assign a percentage to it, I would probably be like, yeah, they've probably got like a 15% chance to make the playoffs, right? So it's not very high. But coupled with the winning that they've been doing, Evangelista does look pretty good, right? Like he's looked pretty good. One of the knocks on Andrew Burnett at the end of last year was, well, he never develops any of the young players. Well, all of a sudden, Evangelista looks pretty good. We've talked about Matt Wood. I think Wood slowed down a little bit over the last week or two, but he's largely has exceeded expectations this year. Keith on the text line was asking me about Schaefer. Like, Schaefer has come in, and I think the way that he plays the game has been really impressive. Like, I don't know that Schaefer's ever going to be like some top 6 player, but he's been good in the role that he plays. So all of a sudden, it's a combination of your young guys are playing pretty well, you're winning games, and by the way, some of your veteran players who could not for the life of them buy any offense earlier in the year are starting to score, namely Steven Stamkos. So you got all these things kind of happening at the same time right now for the Predators. So, like, if you're going to be somebody that just bashes Burnett for all those things, when it starts to flip, don't you at least have to give him a little bit of credit for it?
Yeah, more than a little. Yeah, absolutely. It's not to say he's going to be coach of the year, and doesn't mean he's going to lead him to a cup someday or anything like that. But again, it's just like, it has looked grim. And I just think that in a lot of cases like that, again, I don't know that it gets truly like toxic or the truly, completely tuning a guy out, like somebody in the chats like Craig Berube, but it can't be easy. It can't be easy through all that because, like you said, they're at 15%. They're at 0.01% a few weeks ago, in our minds anyway, right? And so I do think he absolutely deserves credit for that. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. But I'm impressed with just how he sort of handled it, And maybe, I guess, if you're him, because Barry Trotz is different, maybe he has always had more or felt more stable than we thought on the outside because it's Barry. So maybe that changes your mindset. But still, like, the players hear all that stuff too. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Human nature. And so the response is pretty impressive. Well,
I promise you, Joe, I had not looked at the actual percentages before I said 15%, but I just pulled up Money Puck for curiosity's sake to see what their actual playoff odds are, and it's 14.5%. So kind of right in there. My brain is a computer. That's what we've learned.
That is wild. Can you go back and look at at different points of the year?
I could find probably some graphics that they put out there. Yeah. But I mean, I would guess at their lowest, it was probably around 3% or something like that.
Right.
So,
damn, that's impressive, man.
Hey,
It's almost scary.
Bring me more math. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get into the college football playoff coming up next. We've reached the quarterfinals with some very intriguing matchups. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. College football game of the week. Penn State versus Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl this Saturday at 11 a.m. on 102.5 The Game. Coverage presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky, also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Rumor has it Rexrode may be on the sideline for the Pinstripe Bowl coming up. So looking forward to that.
Go skating at Rockefeller Center. Sure.
Joe, we had a very passionate discussion yesterday about the college football playoff. In the aftermath of that, the quarterfinals are now upon us, the Elite Eight, whatever you want to call it, at this stage. Now, unfortunately, it's still forever until the games actually take place, which Dan Lanning was talking about that a little bit yesterday. Number one, shout out to Dan Lanning for being like, yeah, you know what kind of sucks about this is this game should be at Texas Tech. We just had a home game, and Texas Tech should be able to host this game. And by the way, we should be playing this Saturday, not waiting all the way until January the 1st, which I totally agree with him on everything he just said there. But they're not going to do that. So that's neither here nor there. But you have some quarterfinals matchups here, Joe, that on the surface look pretty good. You got Oregon and Texas Tech, Alabama taking on Indiana, Ole Miss, Georgia in a rematch, but a game that was pretty darn good earlier this year. And then Miami, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl coming up on December the 31st as well. So, Joe, now that we have woven our way through the first round, what do we make of the quarterfinals matchups here that are still more than a week out for some reason?
Yeah. Big props to Dan Lanning for calling that out, and everybody needs to keep calling it out over and over again, because we knew that this year the deal was signed. Now that supposedly there's a verbal agreement that through 31 it'll still be this garbage. But to me, put as much pressure on as possible. Again, it's just a small group of people who are benefiting from this, and it really is. I mean, a couple of these are fine. I think like Georgia, Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl is kind of cool, right? I mean, it's like
SEC.
What's that?
SEC Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, right. That makes sense, and it's closer to Ole Miss. I think you're going to have a packed stadium, a great like neutral, both with a ton of fans. So that'll be cool. I mean, the Rose Bowl is cool enough that I am excited for Indiana fans to actually have the experience of going to the Rose Bowl, because it is special. And so like that game out there is pretty cool. Although in for Alabama, of course, Alabama was just out there 2 years ago playing Michigan. But the other two are, Oregon, Texas Tech, and Atlanta. Oh, boy. It's just and then Miami and Ohio State in freaking Texas. And it's just it's got to change. Like, that's, to me, like, until they figure that out. Again, you can still have the bowls involved. You can go beyond like what the NFL does, which of course is just teams earn home games. They have home games, and then they have a Super Bowl. The big argument is, all the NFL cities have hotel inventory, and it's true. There are some cities that are sort of like for example, even like State College last year, or Penn State, or College Station this year for A&M. There's some not great hotel situations compared to NFL cities. So what? And you're just grasping at straws and making excuses.
Well, by the way, Oregon, Texas Tech's in Miami. So it's Miami for Oregon, Texas Tech, and then Atlanta is if they win, is the Peach
that's
Bowl.
Right.
So by the way, that means like if Oregon makes a run here to the final to the championship game, Joe, they will have played a home game in Oregon, then gone to Miami, then gone to Atlanta, and then gone back to Miami for the championship game.
Yeah, right. And last year Oregon was the 1 seed, and look, they got absolutely bombed in the Rose Bowl, but they were the 1 seed, and they were going to have no home games, and it was like they were going to have to go. Had they beaten Ohio State, they would have had to go out to Atlanta and all over. It's just so. Again, how of these fans? And we're just bringing back. We're just playing the hits now, because go down the rabbit hole, and it's like of the fans of your team who I think we care about, right? Care about the fans? Some? Any? No? How many of them could possibly, even without laughing, consider following you through this thing? It's the mega boosters. That's it. It's the mega boosters. Now, of course, you hope, there's some alums in this area, and there's some alums in this area. They'll go to this game. But, I mean, give them home games. These home sites have been so fantastic. I mean, there hasn't been a single one that hasn't been cool as hell so far, and that's how it should be. So anyway, there is that. But the games themselves, I'll tell you that I think I'm most excited about Oregon Texas Tech, just because I'm really interested to see, first of all, just the matchup of Oregon's offense, Texas Tech's defense, and also just Texas Tech measuring up. I picked Texas Tech to win it all at the athletic, staff picks.
Wow, really?
I might have been the only
win the
one.
whole thing, huh?
To win the whole thing. And that is a leap of faith with their offense, which is good. And they can run the heck out of the football. They run the ball and they play defense. I mean, they have absolute guys who are going to be problems for people on Sundays on that defense. Bailey Rodriguez, those guys, I mean, they are loaded up front, loaded on the D-line, which to me in college football, after quarterback, is the second most important thing. But very interested to see how they deal with that Oregon offense. And certainly they could be bounced immediately, and I could be wrong. But, hey, preseason my pick was Penn State. So, I mean, let's be real here.
I think Alabama, Indiana is probably the game for me that I'm most intrigued by. Although I will say, like, all of them are good. Like, I understand Ole Miss Georgia is a rematch. Ole Miss should have beaten Georgia this year on the road. I mean, they had the game freaking won, and then they basically choked in the fourth quarter. So I'm interested to see what that looks like here. I mean, Joe, from the SEC standpoint, you're going to have one team eliminated for sure in the quarterfinal when Georgia and Ole Miss play each other. Indiana is a 7-point favorite against Alabama. So, I mean, there may be just one SEC team standing as we get into the semifinals, Joe, if Alabama can't take down Indiana after having 5 teams make the playoff.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about this, but I just look at Alabama. Huge comeback, huge plays, got some gifts, but huge plays. And Ty Simpson got out of that game okay with his back. So now you have another extended break. And what does that mean?
Yep.
But it's just like, it's crazy to think, like, man, can Alabama hang with Indiana? But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Indiana is just such a solid all-around team. Alabama cannot run the football. And that's a real problem. And it's just that's the one thing, with Kalen DeBoer, it's like, man, he got to run the ball to some extent. And they can't do it at all. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball at all in Indiana. So I hope that's a great game, but I actually am a little concerned that Indiana might win by like 17.
Is Miami, Ohio State first one to 13 wins?
Yeah, that one is definitely, you would think so. I mean, I think both defenses absolutely have the edge. And Ohio State, I think, has the better quarterback and has certainly the better. I mean, Malachi Tony as a freshman is incredible, but, Ohio State's skill is crazy. So can Miami keep that group down? I don't know. But, yeah, I think that's probably the way it goes. And then what is the game that Ole Miss Georgia is like, they should have won that game. Also, Georgia's way better than they were then, right? So I hope Ole Miss can hang. And to me, this should be America's team. It'd be incredible to see them win this game. Even if they just win this game, to get to the semis, to beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, that would be an incredible story. And obviously tremendous validation for all the coaches and players without Lane, who got that done. After that, to me, it would be gravy. But again, I am a little worried about Georgia and Indiana rolling.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it last year that all the teams with the byes ended up
Got
losing?
killed.
Yeah, just got destroyed.
Yes.
Do we feel like that could carry over this year? Is
mean,
it too much of a break for those teams?
Yeah, it might be. Like, I'm sure it won't completely play out that way, but yeah, I think there's a certain rhythm even with the longer break for the teams that just played. So they get rest, but they still have a certain rhythm of playing that game. And the other teams, it's just like a bowl break, right? Just a long wait. Usually we're used to teams who both have that break, and so it's kind of an even thing. So yeah, it's definitely something to watch to see if that continues to be something that seems to hamper the top 4 seeds. So you get that long break, you're rusty, and you don't get to play at home.
I am very interested to see how good Texas Tech is. I mean, I know they're good. How good are they? Because they really hadn't played anybody, and that includes BYU, who I don't think is very good. I'm very interested to see how good they are against this Oregon team.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do think BYU is a good football team. I think Utah's a good football team. They crush those teams, but that's still that they are stepping up for sure here. Stepping up with Oregon. But in Oregon, yeah, I don't think they're great defensively. But certainly that offense is a problem. And if they get past them, obviously, then it really gets intense. And we'll see. I've got a feeling these Red Raiders they're going to tell you, you spend that money.
I guess so.
And you can win it. But just remember, they still haven't spent as much as Ohio State. So let's keep that clear.
Yep. We'll have the Rob rant coming up next. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Jason Big Joe broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky at the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday. Prior to the Monday night football game, Monday night matchup is the Rams taking on the Falcons. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Happy Festivus.
It's nothing. It's a stupid holiday my father invented. It doesn't exist.
So I'm the jerk.
How about my rant is me slapping you?
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances.
I hate everybody.
It's the airing of the grievances.
There's no faux outrage. You're outraging me, mother farter. Shut up.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
And feats of strength or something.
And now, as Festivus rolls on, we come to the feats of strength.
Built to pound.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Say another word about the Detroit Tigers. You're dead.
This is all bullcrap, is what this is. Happy Festivus. It is time for the Rob Rant here on the program. Either the Rob Rant or the Rex Rant. You can check it out every morning here on the show. Joe, I want to go through some American and world history with you real quick. We all remember, at least you remember, World War II. Very trying time for our country, very trying time for our world. And during that time, Joe, there was so much going on that USC and Notre Dame had to pause playing football for 3 years because, you know, there was a world war going on. But the World War ended. The United States and the Allied forces won. Life resumed, went back to normal. College football was played. Notre Dame and USC played each other all the time after that, every single year. That was, Joe, until 2020 came around and there was a global pandemic by the name of COVID-19. And that impacted the 2020 season in college football to the point where Notre Dame and USC were not able to play that game that year, Joe. So you're talking about over basically like the last, 97 years, they've played every year. Notre Dame and USC have played each other with the exception of World War II and a global pandemic. Those are the two things that have derailed the Notre Dame and USC rivalry, which is a very good rivalry, one of the best and most history-rich rivalries in the history of the program, of college football. Well, that's gone. That is now temporarily on hold until at least, I believe, 2030, and then we'll see from there because basically USC scared to play the game. Like, that's basically what it is here. Now, there's some blame to go around on both sides here. I've talked about this before, Joe. Like, part of this is like Notre Dame being too good to join a conference causes all these problems, and because of that, they have to go out and make their own freaking schedule, and now there's all this stuff going on. They're sitting out in the bowl game, and the idea has been thrown out there of all these ADs around the country basically just going to say, screw you, Notre Dame, get in a conference, and if you're not, we're not going to schedule you. So there's Notre Dame bears some responsibility in this, but Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports did a nice job on this story reporting it. They have not reached an agreement to play, and at this point they're not going to. Notre Dame has turned their attention, and they are now finalizing a 2-year deal to play BYU in 2026, 2027. And it goes through, the history of the rivalry between USC and Notre Dame and how next year would have been the 79th consecutive meeting, excluding the COVID season, dating all the way back to World War II before the arrival of the global pandemic in 2020. We all remember, the Bush push and that play from 20 years ago. USC has not had a tremendous amount of success against Notre Dame in recent matchups, as we know. But this is what Ross Dellinger had to say in the piece he put out at Yahoo yesterday. Scheduling complications and college football playoff implications were at the root of the series' demise, according to those familiar with the negotiations. The latest round of discussions among administrators at each school fizzled over the last 2 weeks in a stunning about-face. The two programs were on the verge of finalizing a 2-year extension of the agreement, with USC agreeing to host Notre Dame next year on the traditional date after Thanksgiving. However, USC officials determined that the game date's not ideal, considering past decisions from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee in punishing schools for losses, especially those late in the season. So basically that's code word for, yeah, we're probably going to lose against Notre Dame, and the timing in which we lose against Notre Dame ain't great for us, and it's going to keep us out of the college football playoff. So therefore, we're not going to play in the game. I mean, apparently the college football playoff committee, Joe, is as powerful as World War II and the global pandemic to prevent this game from happening. First off, Keyshawn Johnson went nuts about this, who's obviously a USC legend. It's so cowardly and basically lines up with everything that's gone on with Lincoln Riley in the USC football era. So that's the one part of this. But it's a shame that we're now so scared to death to lose games in the college football playoff era that USC is dodging Notre Dame. It's amazing.
Yeah. Jen Cohen, the AD, and Lincoln Riley, this will not reflect well on them. It is cowardly. That's exactly what it is. It's cowardly. Again, it's like, okay, so let's look at the playoff right now, and let's take Miami. And I understand the Big Ten's better than the ACC, but you tell me if Miami's in the college football playoff right now if they didn't play Notre Dame and didn't get that win, right? So some people are going to approach this big picture just like there's a lot of, I think, empty threats from the SEC that have come of this. Like, well, okay, we're not going to schedule any more games. And they're going to an extra game and all that stuff. And some people are going to take that approach, and some people are going to take the approach of, well, actually, that game could help us. Not to mention the big picture, but obviously everybody's worried about their own program, their own ability to get to the playoff and all that stuff. But the idea that the idea that losing that late does it matter? Does it matter more than if you lost that when the game was normally played, or they pushed to have a week 0 game, No, there's recency, but how you're playing at the end does matter, even if it's not technically a metric. But you win it wherever you win it, or you lose it wherever you lose it. It's going to count both ways.
Notre Dame just got left out of the playoff for basically a head-to-head loss to Miami in the first week of the year.
Exactly. That we went all the way back, and that still counted. And went all the way back for Texas A&M when it turns out they played nobody in the SEC. And it turns out they weren't that great. But that win at Notre Dame, all the way back at the very beginning, that's why they were in the field. So it's weak as hell and pathetic. But there is the Notre Dame outside of this too, Robbie, like the new thing now where they're in the 12, they're going to be in. People are pissed about that. I get it.
They are, but by all accounts, Notre Dame's willing to play the game, right? Like Notre Dame was willing to play against USC, and USC is the one that bailed.
No doubt. No, for sure. But then, like you said earlier, the whole, is Notre Dame going to have trouble? Obviously, BYU jumped all over the chance to play them. I mean, Notre Dame, they've beyond this situation, which is absolutely on USC. Notre Dame they've screwed. I mean, Michigan State really was their second biggest rival traditionally, historically, and they just got rid of that to go play ACC games and stuff like that. And now this is going to end, and basically they're down to the service academy. I know they're coming back playing Michigan State, but Michigan Notre Dame was a great game. That's been spiked. It's pretty sad. So I don't know. Maybe like Notre Dame will struggle, and maybe they will be compelled to join a conference, but I somehow doubt it.
And going back to the overall college football playoff discussion, obviously expansion. What we were yelling about yesterday with the group of five, like there are going to be some natural disagreements that come up. One thing that I think we can all agree on, from college football playoff expansion to conference expansion, which is probably at the root of all of this, some of the traditional games that we're just losing now absolutely suck. I mean, there's no reason that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State shouldn't play each other every single year, right? There's no reason that Notre Dame and USC shouldn't play each other every year. And you can go on and on, up and down the list of games that we're losing that have been traditional rivalries dating back decades that are just now no longer a thing. And that sucks.
Majorly sucks. I mean, there's a lot of great Pac-12 games, that obviously were just conference games that you lose. But no, I mean, these are the things that have to be, people need to try to to retain and maintain as much as possible. And this one was a gimme.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, they a couple weeks ago, it was like it's just a formality and they're going to finalize it. And then all of a sudden you get this, I don't want to play late. And just it's you see from the USC, like you said, Keyshawn Johnson, he's not the only one. Like the USC side is furious about this.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Some interesting comments from a potential head coaching candidate for the Tennessee Titans that we will get into coming up next. If you're looking for a great spot to pregame before the Titans game this weekend, stop by John Bon Jovi's and pregame with 1025 The Game. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer, cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. Pregame show brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works and Old National Bank. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Tuesday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Hoping the $99 yearly Beehive membership or the buzz is always about great service. Well, Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. This is our final program of the week. So Pigskin Pick'em coming up later on the day. Probably the first Tuesday edition of Pigskin Pick'em we've ever had, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there could have been another holiday scenario, but it doesn't ring a bell.
Early in the week.
It's tough looking through it.
Yeah, it is. It is. We'll see what Rexrode has in store. He was the best of us this past week.
The best of us on Festivus.
Ooh, nice. A head coaching candidate of that we think the Tennessee Titans will be interested in is none other than Robert Saleh. We've talked about him a lot here on the show. There was an interesting piece that Nick Wagoner of ESPN.com, who covers the 49ers, put together on him that came out yesterday. And, Joe, you're reading through it, and basically the first part of it is about how, Saleh gets let go by the Jets, and San Francisco immediately turned their attention to trying to get him back, right, as defensive coordinator. And, Saleh, after he got fired by the Jets, was basically a consultant with the Packers. And then, there were obviously a lot of interest in him, either via head coach or defensive coordinator. He makes the decision to go back to San Francisco and be a DC. And, in this piece, the idea of him being a head coach in the NFL again comes up. And here's what Saleh said on that front, Joe. Quote, "Everyone wants to be at the top of their profession, and they want to succeed at that just to see how far they can go and what they can achieve. Is my desire to get to the top of the profession and hoist the Lombardi one day? Absolutely. Am I in a hurry? No. I love it here. The desire is there, but at the same time, it's not desperation." That was the quote that Robert Saleh had in this piece. And he goes on throughout the process to talk about, challenges of being a head coach. And he said, quote, "Being a head coach is lonely. Try not to be too invasive, but just being a helping hand when he needs me to be," referring to Kyle Shanahan in this piece. It's a really interesting kind of look behind the scenes, peel behind the curtain of Saleh in San Francisco. So, Joe, specifically on his quote there of obviously wants to be a head coach, but he's not really in a hurry to do so. What do you think on that front? How popular of a candidate do you think Saleh will be this offseason? And is the Titans' job with Cam Ward playing the way he is right now and the cap space and all those things, is it attractive enough where somebody who says he's not in a hurry says, "You know what? That's the job for me"?
Yeah, these are all good questions. He can be selective, and maybe I totally understand when you did what he did with the Jets, then you go back to a functional organization that makes sense, that has stability, that wins, or he can do a very important job but not have to deal with all the crap that a head coach has to deal with. I get the, do I really want to jump right back into that? I think we saw Ben Johnson, not the same situation. He's never been a head coach, but a couple years ago, he's like, "You know what? No thanks, Commanders. I'm good." Yep. And he waited, and he got Caleb Williams and the Bears. It looks like it's a pretty good decision by him. So, yeah, I think I'm not surprised to hear something like that from him. And I think it's a good reminder of how it won't necessarily be easy just because you have an opening to lure him. Now, some Titans fans, I'm higher on him than some Titans fans as a possibility, but that's the huge question is, what does he think of this particular job? What does he think of Cam Ward? What does he think of the front office? He has dealt with bad ownership, very bad ownership. There's no sugarcoating how Titans ownership looks to the rest of the league right now. So that's probably the biggest deterrent, along with if he doesn't really believe in Cam Ward or has serious reservations about Cam Ward.
Oh, he talked about his time with the Jets, briefly in this piece too. And, the majority of the conversation, Joe, was kind of focused in on how the Jets have done in the aftermath of letting him go and the dysfunction that's in there. And there's another coach around the league that said, quote, "It showed what Saleh had to overcome and that it wasn't easy." But here's what Saleh had to say on, being fired from the Jets. Says, quote, "We didn't do a good enough job, and the owner decided it was time to move on, so it is what it is. That's where I've got to look inward, see what we could have done better, and those are things that I've been trying to learn from those experiences so that if the opportunity presents itself again, I'll be more prepared." So, I mean, he didn't go into great detail there about, like, taking shots at Jets ownership or anything. But I think if you've got, a pair of eyeballs, you can see Jets ownership hadn't gone very well, and it seemed to run into problems at every turn at that place. So, with a place like here in Nashville, with ownership that has been in the headlines as much as this one has over the last couple of years, is that a non-starter for a guy like Saleh? I mean, he's not gonna talk about that right now on the record, but I'd love to know deep down if it feels that way.
Yeah, that's a great question. If not a non-starter, maybe at least okay, hear him out, but I'm very skeptical.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. So if you go through the other jobs and just think about it in terms of owner and quarterback, so potentially Atlanta, and I don't know that. What's that?
Cheap concessions.
Yeah, that's true. But Chick-fil-A on Sundays. The Giants, we've talked about that with him. It's like, okay, you may be excited about Jackson Dart, who completed one pass last week or whatever. But going back to New York, that seems like a tough sell.
Yep.
Cincinnati, to me, would be a very coveted job.
Yep.
I understand that Joe
Even though
Burrow.
the ownership part of that may not be great.
Cheap, but not like. But at least it's like we know what they are. Like they're not erratic though, right? So, and then obviously Burrow, and I understand stuff Burrow said, but like I'd roll the dice and think he's going to keep playing.
Yeah.
And that you can get him excited about, okay, come on, I'm your new coach, and let's go. I mean, I know that they say Miami is safe, McDaniel's safe, but I still have my doubts. But that's the thing; they're starting over at quarterback, and also their owner is, I would say, on the low end in this league.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know where or if Saleh would even factor into this. But we talked about this a little bit yesterday. There is some noise right now on the John Harbaugh front. So what if the Ravens move on from him? Obviously the first reaction to that would be, okay, well, where does John Harbaugh end up? But what do the Ravens do if they decide that it's time to move on from John Harbaugh? Like, which way are you going there if you're Baltimore? Because I would assume, with Lamar Jackson in the roster that they have, that'd be a pretty darn attractive job.
Yes, except every year that they don't get to the Super Bowl without him, there's is this actually going to work all the way? And then the injury thing is got to be a growing concern.
Yeah.
With him. But you talk about a stable organization, you talk about ownership and an organization that has a certain, very much like Pittsburgh to me, just has a certain standard and a stability and a way of treating people. I think that job would be, that job would be incredibly attractive. And of course, John Harbaugh would immediately be coveted. I know Michigan fans are dreaming of, let's get the other Harbaugh. But that's not going to happen. He'll be an NFL coach somewhere else quickly if that divorce ends up happening.
Yeah, again, I have no idea where Saleh ranks on the list here in terms of Titans and the interviews that they're going to go through. I would imagine he's at least on it and that they're going to talk to him. But I am very interested to see league-wide what sort of interest he has. Because again, I think last night's a good example, right? Like, it wasn't like San Francisco's defense came out there last night and totally shut down Phillip Rivers and the Colts. They don't have a very good pass rush. They have been decimated to some degree by injury. And yet here they are, as you said, Joe, earlier in the show, potentially going to end up with a 1 seed in the NFC West.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, like last night, you're watching that, and that's just an offensively dominant performance. But they have had some other weeks, especially when Purdy was hurt and stuff, where I think what Saleh did and got his defense to do kept things going during that time period. It was awfully important, awfully impressive. But yeah, I would not be surprised at all if he ends up just skipping this cycle. If he can't get one of those primo jobs, again, like to me, Cincinnati would be one of those. Baltimore would be one of those, and just waiting out the cycle and just waiting until he has a perfect opportunity. But yeah, and it's also he's been right there at the top of my list through all this. I just think he's really good. I think he's going to be a successful head coach, but I don't know that the Titans feel that way at all.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans and the search for the next head coach. All that coming up next. The Game Nashville Sports Network, your home for college football bowl games, presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Today on 94.9 The Fan, catch the New Orleans Bowl as Western Kentucky takes on Southern Miss at 5 o'clock. And tonight on Sports Talk 830, UNLV taking on Ohio in the Frisco Bowl at 8 o'clock. For a list of games carried on the Game Nashville Sports Network, visit theGameNashville.com/bowl games. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. I got some passes to give away, a pair of passes that give you access to a special area in the Jack Daniels tent behind the stage at the Jack Daniels New Year's Eve Live, Nashville's Big Bash at the Bicentennial Capitol Mall State Park, coming up on Wednesday, December 31st. The area includes a heated tent, light food, and a cash bar as well. as special access to stage viewing. Performers include Lainey Wilson, Jason Aldean, Bailey Zimmerman, and a whole lot more. Counting down to midnight with live music, fireworks, and the signature note drop coming up midnight as well. You can win a pair of these passes by being caller number 3, 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 will win a pair of those passes, and we wish you good luck heading downtown once you win. We will have Pigskin Pick'em coming up here at 8:30. Taking your thoughts on the Titans coaching search, 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter says, whoever comes in needs to have a come-to-Jesus meeting with the ownership to make sure they have autonomy and funding to build the team. Without that, no one should take the job. I doubt that's going to happen. Like, I doubt that they, like Robert Saleh is going to look at Amy Adams-Strunk and be like, hey, you have to promise me that you're going to completely stay out of this or I'm not taking this job. I doubt it goes that way, but I understand the thought process.
Yeah, I think the realistic assurance that you can try to get there. Look, you have to believe in the front office when you talk to them and when you talk to other people about them, and believe that they have a good system in place for building a roster. And then you have to feel good about them having autonomy and understand that there's plenty of not a ton, but there are several owners in this league who have been problematic in different ways and who have seemed to undercut the possible success of their franchises. I do look at Carolina, and I know it's not like they're Super Bowl bound, but they've kind of figured it out. You know, Bryce Young kind of figuring it out, but you haven't heard anything from their owner in a while. He seems to have figured out, you know what, I'm just going to shut up.
Yep.
Let you guys do your jobs, and let's see it. And I think that's what people coming in here want to hear. Are you guys allowed to do your jobs? And then, of course, do I believe these guys can do them well? And if that's the case and you think Cam Ward can be a good quarterback, then I think you're going to be interested.
Yeah, I think so too. Caleb on the text line asking us who we would rather have between Matt Nagy or Robert Saleh. It's a good question. Like, I think, Joe, your answer would be Saleh. He's been your number one guy for a while. For me, you know, I think it just depends on what you want. Like, again, Nagy did a better job than I think people think he did with the Bears when you go back and look at what he was dealing with there. Saleh, the record's not good, but he also was with the Jets. So, like, how much of a Jets tax do you put on it? I guess what I'm saying is, to me, it's pretty close. Like, I would be okay, I think, with either one of those guys. I wouldn't say that either one of those guys overly excite me if I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah, my answer, Caleb, and Merry Christmas to you as well, is Saleh. Just because I just think that I think he can be a Vrabel-like coach. And some people may not like to hear that, but I mean, come on. The guy can rally a team together. I'm not saying it's the exact same guy, but I do think Saleh has some of those traits. And I think the Jets, we've already talked about the owner a lot, but also the Aaron Rodgers aspect of that and everything that went on with that and bringing his guys in and then the injury. And there's just so many things that happen. And maybe more of it is Saleh's fault than I'm giving credit for. And it's not going to work out for him because he gets distracted by stuff that doesn't matter. But I just think that there's upside there for him to be a really good coach like that. And I'm not down on Nagy. I think it would be a fine hire. Obviously, then you would have your play calling head coach situation. You wouldn't have to worry about the OC thing as much. But I think Saleh is going to land somewhere and be good.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week when we were talking about these coaches. Some of these guys that have been head coaches before are going to get to their next stop, their second chance, if you will, and they're going to really do well, right? Like, a couple of these guys I'm sure will go on to their next stop and they'll do well and it'll be a great hire. And then there are probably going to be a couple more, Joe, whether that's Nagy, whether that's Saleh, whoever. I mean, throw whoever you want on this list that has been a head coach before that get to their second stop and it becomes pretty clear that they're just better off being a coordinator, right? I mean, we see that. There are plenty of guys in this league who are really good coordinators who are just not cut out to be the head coach. And, what I'm worried about in this process is we keep talking about all these guys who have been head coaches before. And I would agree for the most part that I want people that have been a head coach before coming in based on how bad it was with the last time you tried this process without that. But there's inevitably, Joe, going to be one of these guys that they hire or that somebody hires, whether that's Cliff Kingsbury, Arthur Smith, whoever. I mean, keep going down the list, that is just better off being a coordinator and is not cut out to be a head coach in the league. And my fear is that the Titans are going to end up with the one that is like the clearly cut out to be a coordinator and not a head coach.
Yeah, could be. Then there's like the D-line coach who gets the head coaching job for some freaking reason, like Rod Marinelli, for example, who never should have been a D coordinator, let alone a head coach. But that's, the dysfunctional franchise that we like to poke fun at a lot on this program. But yeah, that is like Saleh may be just perfect for DC. That's the perfect amount of like people to be in charge of, and he can lock in on one side of the ball and just be a great DC his whole career. And there's just so much more external stuff that comes with being a head coach. And maybe some of that stuff some of that stuff tripped up Brian Callahan. I think Brian Callahan definitely was at times worried about the wrong things when he was a head coach. So it's a huge challenge. Some people can handle it no problem, and some people it's just like that. The coordinator is the perfect amount of responsibility, and it's worth just doing that really well, still getting paid really well, and not having to deal with all the BS.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like examples off the top of my head of people that are clearly cut out to be a coordinator. I mean, Josh McDaniels got to be at the top of that list, right? Like he's pretty darn good offensive coordinator. And then the moment you hire him to be a head coach, it just completely falls apart.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, this has actually been a great year for him because, yes, Drake May is a tremendous talent, but there's been a lot of, Brady carried him, right?
Yeah.
With which didn't really make sense. I mean, if you really watched the Patriots back then, it was clear that McDaniels was a good OC. But yes, once he gets into all the head coach stuff, all of a sudden, like everybody in the locker room hates him. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but that's what happened multiple times. And it seems like the guys on the Patriots offense are doing just fine with him. And obviously May's doing fine. He's really good. This is, I think, really rehabilitated him. But like, I think
but would you hire him as a head coach?
No,
I wouldn't.
And that's the funny thing is like, will there be an owner out there who's like, well, gosh, why the heck wouldn't we want to? He could call our plays, but it's like, no, just let him be an OC. That's what he is.
Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Brian to the program. Brian, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, boys. First of all, Robby, may I say to you, bear down, Chicago Bears.
Thanks.
May every play clear the way to victory.
There we go.
Yes, I'm not going to sit here and brag about how well the Bears played because for three and a half quarters, they played like crap. So, hey, man, this is one of the best divisional matchups in the North I've seen in a long time.
Probably see it again here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. Even Detroit is the way that game ended was certainly kind of questionable, to say the least. But the purpose of my call, man, I've heard you guys discuss the Titan search for a couple of weeks, and I want to put my hat, a name, or take a name out of the hat. That would be Matt Nagy. Yes, he did have success the first season with the Bears, but if you bring in Matt Nagy to this organization, you're going to be bringing in Brian Callahan 2.0. And the reason I say that, Matt Nagy, true enough, did some great play calling, but he did nothing to help the development of Mitchell Trubisky. And it's not so much that it was his fault that Trubisky didn't work out, but he was not a developer of the quarterback, is what you need with Cam Ward. And also, to me, the biggest reason you don't, he was horrible at game management, man. Timeouts he didn't make, or sticking to his game plan and not adjusting. When they would get down, he was still trying to throw the ball or pass. Just whatever he was supposed to do in that situation, he was not doing. And I would hate for the Titans organization, for the strides they seem to be making over these last couple of weeks, to bring in a guy like Matt Nagy to set them back. Because he is a good play caller, but he is not a good overall coach. But that's all I got, man. Always enjoy the show, fellas, man. I hope y'all have a great rest of the year. I'll be listening, and y'all take care.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the call.
Thanks a lot.
Like, like he said, I don't know that there's a candidate out there, Joe, that I would be like, yes, home run hire, right? Like, I don't know that candidate exists. There are candidates that I like, like I like Mike McCarthy. I'm fine with Saleh. I'm fine with Nagy. But I don't know that the candidate exists this year, Joe, where I would be like, man, the Titans just knocked it out of the park with that coaching hire. Unless, like John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin snuck through and got available.
Right. No, I mean, there's nobody like that. And I would say, it's an interesting point on Trubisky. I guess I don't – is Trubisky an example of bad development, or was he not good enough? I would tend to believe he just wasn't good enough, and that's not Nagy's fault. But I guess it's a little bit of a chicken and egg argument.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. And, boy, competition tightening up, pun intended, heading into the final few weeks of the year. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is time for Pigskin Pick'em here on 1025 The Game. A standings update in the competition. Rexrode 4-2 last week with his lock. And luckily for Rexrode, he made picks a day before the actual competition last weekend. A couple of the spreads changed during the process, but luckily for him,
Now,
it
wait
didn't
a
matter
minute.
because all of his picks
No,
mattered.
no. You guys changed that. I went back and listened, and you said, you get the 3.5. You had it at 3. We're putting it at 3.5.
We changed, I think, one of them. We left the other one the same. But it
I don't
didn't
think
matter. You won both of them.
Yeah, neither of them mattered anyway.
I'm just pointing out that
Don't
won.
shame me.
I'm not shaming you. I'm just pointing things out, pointing out the facts.
Accuracy.
That's what we're here. That's what we're here for. Rexrode 4-2 with his lock last week. Ian 2-4 with his lock as well. I am 2-4, no lock. Not good for me last week. The overall standings. I am in first place, 52-50 overall, 7-10 on my locks, 59 points. Rexrode just 3 back now, 46-56 overall, 10-7 on his locks, 56 points. Ian 48-54 overall, 7-10 on his locks, 55 points. So all of us separated by a combined 4 points in the composition as we are approaching crunch time here in Pigskin Pick'em. We begin with the Saints and the Titans coming up this weekend. The Saints are a 3-point favorite, and what all of a sudden has turned into an intriguing matchup in the National Football League. Joe, Titans are playing better football. I'm going with the Saints. I'll take the Saints to win by 4 in this matchup. Get me the New Orleans Saints to cover the 3-point spread. Joe Rexrode, you're up next in the competition.
Hey, I mean, I've rarely picked the Titans this year. I think when I have, it's certainly backfired. Boy, it's been very rare. But last week I just felt it. And, obviously it's kind of easy when the Chiefs, what happens to the Chiefs, happened to the Chiefs. Saints are playing very well, but I'm going with the home team. I think the Titans win a close game.
Well, that'd be a winning streak for the Titans. My goodness. Ian, the Saints and the Titans. Saints favored by 3.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I didn't take the Titans last week over the Chiefs. We kind of talked it over with Kuharski, and
he was a bad influence
and
on us.
Still went with the Chiefs. But yeah, I don't know. Both of these teams are used to playing games that don't matter, so that doesn't quite work in the Titans' favor this week.
True.
The Saints have been playing better. Their defense is actually not terrible. I think I'm actually going to take the Saints.
Going with the Saints in the matchup. Rexrode, the lone representative again for the Tennessee Titans. He's got belief.
If I win this competition, I'm going to have to maybe I'll answer one of those calls that the Titans make 8 times a day to me about tickets in the new stadium.
You have to send a gift basket to Mike McCoy.
There we go.
Yeah, thanks, Berserker.
There we go. Tennessee and Illinois coming up in the Music City Bowl. Joe, this actually is next week, but by the time we do this competition again, the game will have already happened. So we will go Tennessee and Illinois. The Vols a 2.5-point favorite on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Rexrode, you're up first.
Yeah, bowl games, and I've after the South Florida debacle, I'm like, you know what? I'm not messing with bowl games anymore. I can't keep up with who's playing, who's not playing, who cares, who doesn't care. But I think Tennessee will have more fans. I think Tennessee is a better football team, and I'm going to go ahead and take Tennessee and give those points. 2.5, right?
2.5.
Yep.
Ian Safar, Tennessee and Illinois. Who we got?
Yeah, I'll go Tennessee just based on the regional factor. Although there will be some Illinois fans here because there's so many.
There will be.
We talked about it during the basketball tournament, I guess, a couple weeks ago. There was a fair amount of fans. There's a bunch of Chicago people around. Corey Curtis will be there.
Yep.
I don't know that for sure. I was just making that up.
I'm sure he will.
But yeah, I also think I am going to take Tennessee. Field goal seems doable.
Give me Illinois. It's the Music City Bowl. I've seen some weird crap happen in Tennessee in the Music City Bowl over the years. So I'll go Illinois plus the 2.5 in this matchup. Don't feel good. Don't feel good about it.
We moved HTR today.
I know. We moved to the individual portion of the program. Ian Safar, your first individual selection.
Man, this is some, the college games and the bowls. So I'm pretty much going all NFL here. And so early in the week, it's tough. Give me a bounce. I'll just go ahead and get my lock out of the way here. Just to get it down. Based off of last night, give me the Jags -6.5 versus the Colts. the way Jacksonville's been playing. I don't know, it's a divisional game, so it's risky to lock it, but I think they can win by a touchdown.
Give me the New England Patriots minus 12.5 against the Jets and make it my lock. The Jets are absolute cheeks. They can't stop anybody. And Drake May is really good. I'll take the Patriots minus 12.5 against the New York Jets. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Yep, I like both of those. They're both in consideration. But give me, Steelers at Browns. Browns are plus 4.5. I understand the DK Metcalf, and he may get a game back, but he's not getting this game back. But I like how Steelers running the football right now, and I think they're going to absolutely thump them, and you can make that one my lock.
Guarantee. Steelers minus the 4.5 against the Browns coming up in a critical battle in the AFC North. Give me Western Kentucky plus 1.5 against Southern Miss. That game is today.
More bowl game action.
Give me some bowl games. Western Kentucky plus the 1.5. They will win outright in this game against Southern Miss. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Wow, getting into the bowl scene. Okay, give me another pretty good team playing a really bad team. We got the Battle of Florida. You got Bucks at Dolphins. Dolphins are plus 5.5. I will take the Bucks all day on that one.
Going with the Bucks, who have been struggling lately, but playing the Dolphins. Bucks minus the 5.5 against the Dolphins. Insofar, your second individual selection.
I wrote that one down too, but I just do not feel good about it. Tampa has just been so disappointing lately.
They have.
But Miami stinks. I'm going for a bounce back on this game and maybe some recency bias. Thursday, I believe it's the Thursday night game. Denver is on the road at Kansas City, 12.5. I think they can win. Denver minus 12.5 at Kansas City Thursday night.
Going minus the 12.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs, who
I don't know who's bad. I guess that guy's playing quarterback.
Yeah,
again.
give me Chris Oladokin out there playing some quarterback again for the
There we
Chiefs.
go.
We'll see how that goes against that defense. Joe Rexrode, your third individual selection.
Okay. Look, I watched them last night. I understand that it's a magical season for the Bears, but Bears at Niners minus 2.5. Niners are going to win that football game. Niners might get the 1 seed. Give me the Niners minus the 2.5.
On San Francisco minus 2.5 against the Bears. Ian, your third individual selection.
Yeah, I don't feel great about this one too, but I think they're playing better, and maybe this kind of other team has kind of come back to earth. Give me the Bengals minus 7 at home versus Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona's pretty bad.
I mean, their offense has been okay. Brissett has been a decent story. They've been putting up some numbers, but I don't know. Cincy kind of feels like Joe Burrow's kind of turned it back on after that weird week.
Yep.
Give me Cincy at home minus 7 versus Arizona.
There we go. Give me the Minnesota Vikings plus 5.5 against the Lions. This is a total bet with my heart. I need
had
the
to
Lions
stay away
to lose.
from this one. I no clue.
Give me Minnesota plus the 5.5 and to win outright against the Detroit Lions.
That's
thus
it.
ending
Dunzo.
their playoff hopes, which I'm sure Rexrode would be very upset by. Ian, kick us off with your final individual selection.
Oh, some of these other games. I mean, there's some other good games. Houston Chargers, both teams playing very well. Chargers minus 1.5. I got no clue on that game. That one's very tough. I couldn't pick that game. Seattle going to at Carolina. Very interesting game. I had trouble on this one. Eagles Bills, also interesting game. Couple of games this week that I thought were pretty good that I had, trouble kind of pinpointing in some key spots. So I actually think I wrote it down. I think I'm going to piggyback off of Robby. Give me the Patriots minus 12.5 to cover versus the Jets.
Patriots minus the 12.5 against the Jets. Joe Rexrode, your final individual selection.
Well, I'm piggybacking too because Jags Colts is just too good to not go with. So give me the Jags minus the 6.5.
What kind of a loser would I be if I didn't pick the Pop-Tarts Bowl? So that's what I'm going to do. Give me Georgia Tech plus the 4.5 against BYU in the Pop-Tart Bowl. Coming up on Saturday, I'll take the Yellow Jackets to cover the 4.5-point spread, and all the Pop-Tarts will be involved down there in Orlando.
Honestly, I don't know how our show could have gone on if we didn't have somebody pick the Pop-Tart Bowl.
I'm kind of disappointed that you two didn't.
Save the program.
I know. I mean, that's the greatest bowl game on earth. It should be a part of the college football playoff.
We need a tournament so that the Duke's Mayo winner and the Pop-Tart winner meet each other. Then someone has to eat like a combination of mayo and a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, what flavored Pop-Tart would be the best to dip in mayo?
Oh boy, that's an interesting question.
Yep.
Maybe cinnamon.
Little brown sugar cinnamon.
That makes
Pop-Tart
sense.
dipped in mayo?
Yeah. The brown sugar. Yeah.
Now, I don't know about fruit. I don't know about the fruity ones in mayo. Does that sound
Stay
like
away
a
from the
good
cherry
combo?
flavor. Yeah.
Or chocolate. Maybe the chocolate.
All right. Hot fudge sundae. Dipped
It
in
all
mayo?
sounds very disgusting.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. One more segment, mercifully, remaining in our show. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. Chris in Nashville, a vote for unfrosted blueberry as the flavor to dip in the mayo. And Jess wants to thank Rexrode for making her almost throw up on that conversation we just ended with.
I apologize, but that sounds. I mean, honestly, yeah, blueberry sounds awful.
Not good.
Unfrosted, huh? I wonder if we get unfrosted. That the better way to go about it.
Might be
attacking the mayo.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. You probably don't want frosting and mayo mixed. Yeah.
Joe, did you see the news from Kansas City? The Chiefs are moving to the state of Kansas, I guess. And beginning with the 2031 NFL season, they're working on building a new stadium, a dome stadium, which means Arrowhead will be a thing of the past, no longer the home of the Kansas City Chiefs following the 2030 season. Joe, your thoughts on what is now Arrowhead Stadium coming to an end here in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I really hate it because I think that's a place just like Lambeau that shouldn't be messed with. There aren't that many places like that in the NFL. There have been more like in baseball, and don't even get me started on Tiger Stadium, which should still be standing. But yeah, I hate the idea of Arrowhead going. That's a totally unique place, and look, I get it. There are fans in northern cities who look around and say, "Gosh, it looks so nice to just sit in the warmth, in that stadium. Why can't we have that?" But man, you also have a home field advantage when you have that. And look at the Bears. The Bears, of course, we know they've been trying to figure out this thing, and now they're looking at Northwest Indiana.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Indiana Bears.
Whoever will give them the most public money is where they will go.
Yeah. So,
and that is now the new record, the Chiefs.
Yep.
Like it's absolutely, to me, for people who don't know, like Kansas City is on the border of Kansas, Missouri, right?
That's true.
But if you know Chicago well, like to have a stadium, I suppose maybe it's not that much of a drive, more of a drive than some of the real northern suburbs, but man, it's a ways. And I just think that's absolute insanity. I don't know what the heck Kevin Warren's doing over there, but yeah, you hate to see stuff like that because places like that, I mean, Soldier Field is one of them. Now they already made it weird. It looked like they attached a spaceship to it a few years ago. But still, where it is on Lake Shore, on the lake, I mean, I hate that those things would change.
I mean, I'm thinking of the northern cities, Cleveland, obviously, get a lot of snow there. Buffalo's building a new stadium that's not a dome. It's like it's got that stuff, the canopy over the top that's going to cover from snowfall.
But they were going to.
Yeah.
They were definitely talking about a full-on dome, and I'm glad they're not.
Like Lambeau's going to be the last one left at some point. There's no way they'll ever change that because I think the franchise would riot. But it's going to be the last one at some point.
Yeah. And the Lions, it's just a soft franchise. They went to a dome in like 1975. I mean,
Minnesota.
That totally goes along with their lack of winning, which, by the way, I was in a room with about 30 Lions fans the other day losing their minds. And I'm like, guys, have you learned nothing? Like, this is what's going to happen. They're going to fail. It's going to disappoint you. Like, I don't know what to tell you anymore. But I guess you could say the same thing about the Vikings. They've had the Metrodome. They started with the Metrodome.
Yeah.
What, late 70s probably?
Yeah. I mean, they've been inside for a long time.
Hang in there, Packers. Hang in there. You're the last one.
Been inside for
and
a
when
long
those
time.
teams come visit you in December games, that should benefit you.
That's right. Joe, big test for the Preds tonight. We mentioned earlier in the program. They've won 9 of their last 13 games. They're playing some good hockey. They are creeping closer to the wild card spots in the playoff race. Problem is, so is just about every other team in the Western Conference. They're also only 2 points away from being the bottom team in the Western Conference. A tough one tonight as they take on the Minnesota Wild, who have been rejuvenated here with Quinn Hughes joining the team. They were already really good without him, and now you add Quinn Hughes, who basically plays like 30 minutes a night for him, and that's pretty good. So the big test for the Predators, we'll find out a lot about them tonight in terms of, they've played against Colorado a couple times. They beat Colorado at home here in a shootout. They went on the road, and it didn't go overly great for them in that game. On the road against Minnesota, a very tough challenge for the Nashville Predators tonight.
Yes, the very intriguing now Minnesota Wild John Hines.
Johnny Hines.
Yeah, man, who's got himself he's got himself a chance here after that trade. So going to be very interesting and definitely a good test for the Preds as they try to see where they stand a little bit. They have been able to be very competitive, for stretches with Colorado, beat them once. So this could be a good test and another step along the way of them rising to buyer status.
Well, by the way,
Just kidding.
7-game road trip starting for the Preds. So, it's softened a little bit because they play tonight and then they've got a Christmas break. So I'm sure they're coming back home after the game tonight. They'll be off the next few days, and then they're in St. Louis after that. But you go Minnesota, St. Louis, Utah, Vegas to close out the 2025 portion of the schedule. And then you're still on the road after that. You're in Seattle. I mean, it's a long trip. They're not home again until January the 8th, Joe. So get used to life on the road.
Yeah, no, that's a long time. They talk about these trips like bonding experiences. So maybe they'll even start to play better and really catch fire in the situation. By the time they come home, maybe they'll be in a spot where that advantage in the building will be a little bit enhanced. And if you've got Nick Saban down there waving a towel, slamming a beer when he gets on the big screen, even better.
Burnett could be, leading the charge for the Jack Adams at that point. What a turnaround that'd be.
Hey, if this team like comfortably makes the playoffs, then I actually think he should be a contender.
I agree. I don't think that they're going to comfortably make the playoffs, but if that were to play out that way, then I would agree. He should be in the mix. Like, every time I look at these standings, I'm like, is Colorado going to get to double-digit regular season, like regulation losses at any point this year? They're 26-2-7. Are they going to hit ridiculous. 10 regulation losses by the time the year's over with?
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's ridiculous that I'm in a house where I have to see a bunch of glasses that look like this. Just making it that much worse.
Well, that's going to do it for us today and do it for us this week on the program. Joe, Merry Christmas to you and yours. We will see you next week, my friend.
Merry Christmas to you guys and your families and everyone out there. Thanks for listening. Very much appreciate you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yep. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their week. Hope you have a very Merry Christmas. We'll be back coming up next Monday. We got a lot of things to discuss coming back. It'll be bowl games for Tennessee and Vanderbilt next week. Titans back in action this weekend, so we'll have you covered on that throughout the rest of the shows here today and next week as well. Merry Christmas, everyone. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.